This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Mochaccino Cheesecake Cupcake. A mochaccino is a combination of a cappuccino with some chocolate in it. It's really, really good. So I thought, why not take a chocolate cheesecake, add some espresso to it, and make a mochaccino cheesecake, and then of course turn it into a cupcake. These cupcakes have a cookie crust at the bottom. So what I'm using today are some of these chocolate wafer cookies that I'm going to make into cookie crumbs. If you can't find these, you could use a chocolate sandwich cookie like an Oreo, and you can mash the cookies up even with the cream filling in the middle. It works out just fine. So take your cookies and put them into a Ziploc bag and seal it up, except for about the last inch. We want to let some of the air come out. Then I'm going to take my rolling pin, I'm just going to smash these up. And once they start to break up, then you can use your rolling pin and roll them into fine crumbs. Then I'm going to measure out 3/4 of a cup of the crumbs and put them into a small bowl. Then I'm going to add 1½ tablespoons of sugar. Then I'm going to mix the sugar in. Then I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of melted butter. And I'm going to take a spoon and I'm going to mix those crumbs and butter together until the crumbs start to look like wet sand. Next, I have a 12-cup muffin pan, and I'm going to put a paper liner in each one. Now I want to divide these cookie crumbs amongst all 12 of these wells. And here's a really fast way to get those crumbs compacted into your muffin wells. Get a 1/4 cup measuring cup and just press it down in each one of the cups. Now the crumbs are all in the bottom of the muffin pan, so I'm going to set these aside and we're going to start making the cheesecake part of these cupcakes. We're going to start by getting an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. And for this cheesecake, you don't want to get the light cream cheese. You want to go with the real deal. So we're going to unwrap this and put it in the mixing bowl and get it starting to cream up. Now to the cream cheese, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of sugar. And I'm going to turn the speed up because I want this mixture to get nice and fluffy. Now I'm going to turn the mixture down to low and I'm going to add in 2 eggs. Now as those eggs beat in, you're going to notice that there's a layer of cream cheese that's gone against the side of the mixing bowl. So after a minute or so, I like to stop the mixer and scrape that down. Now we're going to make the mochaccino part of this cheesecake. So in a small microwave-safe bowl, I'm going to put 1/2 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips and then 1/4 cup of espresso, and this is hot espresso. Now, if you don't have an espresso maker or an espresso pot, what you can do is just get 1/4 cup of boiling water and add 1 teaspoon of espresso powder, and that'll work out fine. Now, because it's warm, it's going to start melting that chocolate right away. But it looks like for me I'm going to need to put it in the microwave for maybe about 15 to 20 seconds and get that to melt a little bit more. And now I'm going to pour my chocolate and espresso mixture into my cream cheese, and I'm going to let that mix around until I see no more streaks of either the chocolate or the cream cheese. Now while the mixer is on low, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of heavy cream, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of a coffee liqueur, and I'm using Kahlua, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Now I'm going to stop the mixer and I'm going to give it one final scrape down. Now we're going to take our cheesecake mixture and put in 1/4 cup of the cheesecake into each of the muffin wells. Now if you have a little bit left over, you can fill them up just a little bit higher. Now if you happen to get any drips of the cheesecake on your muffin pan, do take a paper towel and wipe those up. I've preheated the oven to 300 degrees and these are going to bake for 30 minutes. Now, see how shiny these are as they come out of the oven? That's exactly what we want. And they are going to start to fall a little bit, but that's okay too. Now we're going to let these sit in the pan for a whole hour, and they're actually going to continue to cook while they're sitting in here. Now the cheesecake cupcakes have been sitting out for an hour, so they are totally lukewarm now, actually room temperature, but that's not cold enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave them in the pan and I'm going to take a piece of plastic wrap and I'm going to put it right over the top. And then these are going to go into the refrigerator for 2 to 3 hours until they're really cold. When you get ready to serve your cheesecake cupcakes, this is a really great whipped cream to put on top of it. It's a coffee flavored whipped cream. And what I do is in my mixer I have my whisk attachment and I put 1/2 cup of heavy cream, a tablespoon of sugar, and then I'm going to use some more coffee flavored liqueur and I'm going to put a teaspoon of that in. Now I'm going to put the mixer on a medium speed to start for about a minute or so. And then I'm going to bump it up to high and let it beat the rest of the way until the whipped cream is nice and full of volume. Now I've taken the cupcakes out of the refrigerator because they're nice and cold now. Now first we want to get our cupcakes out of the muffin pan. So I'm using a little offset spatula and I'm just kind of popping the bottoms. Now the first way I'm going to show you how you can put whipped cream on is just really simple. You take about a tablespoon of the whipping cream and you just place it right on top of the cupcake like this. The other way you can put the whipped cream on is to actually pipe it on. And I got an email from a viewer, Julie in Denmark, and she was asking me if I could sort of show some different ways that you could decorate cupcakes. So with whipped cream, this is definitely something you can do. What I have here are some cake decorating tips, and they're really big ones. This is for like piping things like cream puff, pastry, or in our case, whipped cream. So I'm going to take one of my large tips like this, and let me show you how I can pipe the whipped cream with this. I like to use these disposable pastry bags, and so I have one of these, and you just cut the end of it off, and you want to cut just enough, not too much, not too little actually, but just enough to where when you open the bag you can put your cake decorating tip in and it pops out the end. Now you can see that that didn't, so I'm going to need to trim just a little bit more off. But I always figure it's better to trim off too little and then go back and trim a little bit more than cutting too much of the end off and then the whole tip goes sliding out the bottom. So that looks about right. Now when you fill the bag, one of the things I like to do is I like to roll the top over itself like you were making a cuff, almost like on a boot. Then you take and you put your whipped cream right into the bag. So now I'm going to uncuff the bag like this. And so now you can see why I did that. That way this top rim is totally clean, which is nice. Then I grab the top of it and I kind of squeeze down a little bit and give the bag a little bit of a twist. Now you'll notice I'm holding the bag totally perpendicular, straight up and down. I'm going to squeeze and I'm going to kind of make like a circle and keep coming around and then up on the top. So it makes a real pretty design on the top. Now, one of the things that's true is when you do pipe your whipped cream on, you tend to use a lot more. So you may want to double your whipped cream recipe and use a cup of heavy whipping cream. Now, when you're ready to serve these cupcakes, of course you can just eat them like this and peel the wrapper. But if you want to dress it up just a little bit, let me show you how to do that. I'm going to get a small little dessert plate and I'm going to peel back the paper of the cupcake. Then I'm going to take my little offset spatula and I'm going to slide it underneath that cookie crust. And then I'm going to slide it right onto the plate. That way your guests can eat this with a fork for dessert. Well, if you'd like to give these Mochaccino Cheesecake Cupcakes a try, just go to our website and visit the Cupcake show notes and I'll have the recipe there for you. And as always, if you have any questions, please send me an email. I'll see you next time.